Hey guys, welcome to your channel Digital Empaths, where we discuss on the different aspects and trends around the digital ecosystem, where we live by the mantra that how we can democratize the knowledge and insights with a lot of empathy with our listeners. I'm your host Sushant Tejmani, and in our today's Weekend Knowledge series, I'm going to discuss on another interesting topic around the circular economy, which aims at eliminating the wastage of the finite resources and making a continual usage of it. So the term circular economy was highly popularized by a well-known foundation based out of United Kingdom, that is Ellen McArthur Foundation, which started talking about this whole concept as a part of their comprehensive 98-page research report, which was published earlier last decade, in which they embraced the idea of remanufacturing, recyclability, and reusability. So the foundation aim is to inspire the generations to rethink, redesign, and build a positive future based on the framework of circular design. Now, if we take a step back and go back into the history, since Industrial Revolution in 19th century, we have been embracing the idea of a linear supply chain, which is based on the foundation of take, make, and dispose. Where at each stage of the supply chain, we are taking the energy and we are dispersing the emissions and wastage out. Where we are taking the raw materials from the Mother Earth, where we are building the finished products, using it as a consumers, and after we are done with the usage, we are disposing it and we are polluting the environment. And in the last 3 decades, because of the massive industrialization which has happened in the Asian countries, as well as in the Europe and North America, we are seeing the ocean's water quality has depleted. We are seeing the wildlife is getting extinct. We are seeing the glaciers are getting melted. We are seeing a more adverse impact on our climate, the air that we are inhaling. And this is a time where we need to take a step back and think how we are utilizing our finite resources. So if I share with you some of the very horrifying industry statistics, every minute across the world, more than 1 million plastic bottles are purchased. That's 1 million every minute. Over 5 trillion disposable plastic bags are used across the world. And the sad part is a large percentage of these plastic bags are not used more than once. The 95% of the value of the packing material, which is roughly around 85 to 120 billion dollar, is lost to the economy. Over 31% of the food gets wasted in the developed nations. And if you look at the same numbers in Asian countries or some of the other underdeveloped countries, you will find that the number is 45 to 50%. Over 85 to 90% of the automobile life ends up in the parking lot. 35 to 50% of the times, the office spaces are not utilized to their full extent. Now, all these statistics are telling us that this is a time when we need to think beyond our linear supply chain ecosystem. We need to think beyond this take, make, and dispose systems and think about circulating each and every precious resource that we are using as a part of our supply chain ecosystem. There are 3 governing principles behind the circular economy. The first principle talks about preserving and enhancing the natural capital by controlling the finite stocks and balancing the flow of renewable resources. The second governing principle talks about is optimizing the resource yield by circulating the usage of products, materials, and the components to their maximum potential at all times. The third governing principle talks about making the system more effective by eliminating the negative externalities. Now, these negative externalities are the traffic congestion in which we live in, the noise and the air pollution, and the whole CO2 emission that is increasing year over year. Now, in terms of opportunities and advantages for the organizations, the research talked about that the organizations can experience an increase in the productivity of these resources, can see the decline in the reduction of on the finite resource consumption, can see the employment raise across the MSME sector in the world. And of course, the growth will increase. It will also improve the competitiveness and also unleash the innovation. However, the skeptics are of the opinion that building these energy efficient products from the starting and thinking about a design that inculcates the idea of reusability, recyclability, and remanufacturing, it's extremely difficult. And even if the organizations achieve a certain stage, after a certain level, a certain threshold, it will significantly increase the economic cost. Of course, the research talked about that by following the circular design, an economy can increase and their economic value in trillions of dollars every year, especially in some of the developed economies like Europe, as well as in North America. So the opportunities that we are seeing coming by imbibing this whole circular design are enormous. And the lessons from the circular economies, as they are accumulating year over year, we are seeing that the gains from this paradigm shift, the gains from this transition from a linear supply chain to the circular supply chain outweighs the effort and the risk. So this is a time where as a consumer as well as an enterprise, we need to take a step back and think about how we can overhaul and transition our linear supply chain into circular supply chain, where we take each and every resource that we are consuming at each checkpoint of the product life cycle as circulars. The best example is Danone, which few years ago made a completely radical shift in the way they perceive their resources. So there are three main resources: water, milk, and plastic. The organization perceive them as circulars now and go beyond their traditional linear supply chain. And this rethinking of their operation has become a best example on how the business model innovation can increase the economic value. Another interesting example is Schneider Electric, who is a big proponent of circular economy, and every year they attribute over 12% of their revenue towards the circular activities. And like this, there are various other examples. There are some new age startups have come up in the last decade or so. Companies like Winnows and Daikus in Europe. Companies like Lay Technologies and Cambrian Innovations in United States, Enercam in Canada, Close the Loop in Australia, as well as Hyla Mobiles. And like this, there are multiple examples of companies in different parts of the world who are trying to save 1,000 metric tons of wastage to go into the landfill and trying to reduce the pollution. But that's not enough. So we all have to join the forces together and think how we can push the enterprises, push this entire industrial sector, and also push the governments to put strict regulations, strict penalties on all those key aspects of our economy or all those key components, all the role players who are adding to the landfill, who are causing a lot of CO2 emission, and stop them so that the future world can be better. Now, before we see the true value of the circular economy and the kind of economic gains each and every individual country will receive, we need to start from small. We need to start from our individuals, start conserving the precious resources that we use in a day-to-day life, whether it is paper, plastic, water, and see how we can utilize them better. So at the end, let's be accountable and responsible towards our society, towards our climate, if we are looking for a better life ahead. Until then, stay safe, stay connected, and if you have any wonderful opinions, any comments, any constructive feedback, please post it below this video. Any further ideas on the future topics, we'll be more than happy to consider. Take care and